The Democrat coalition is unraveling. It's happening right before our very eyes, and CNN knows it, and they're sounding the alarm for their dwindling audience. We're going to see what's got the political left so anxious, and if you stick with me at the very end of this video, we're going to find out precisely why they ain't seen nothing yet. You're not going to want to miss this.
So, Harry, as we move into the midterms here, you say that we're actually seeing some real movement among a core Democratic group.
Yeah, so take a look here. This is black voters' electoral preferences and pre-election polling. Look, black voters are the core part of the Democratic Party. And as you can see here in the race for Congress, look, they're still getting 74% support in the pre-election polling right now. But compare that to the final polling for 2020 president and 2018 Congress. Back in 2020, it was 84%, 85% in 2018. So you're clearly seeing right here that there is less support for Democratic candidates for Congress among African Americans. And you can look at the Republican column as well, and you can see that 12%, not exactly high, but that's actually the high watermark. It was 9% in 2020, 9% in 2018. So basically what was about a 75, 76-point margin is now down in the low 60s. So look, Democrats still well ahead with African Americans, but in a game in which you're trying to drive up margins, the margin among African Americans for Democrats is clearly down.
So what's going on here? What's the cause of this?
You know, there's a lot of things that could be going on. And the truth of the matter is, when you look across polling, it's actually kind of hard to build up a large enough sample size to really dig in on a lot of questions. But I think that this kind of gets at the core part of it. Take a look at Joe Biden's approval rating among black adults. If you go back to January to June of 2021, look how high it was. It's 87%. 87%, basically matching what he got in the 2020 election. But look at that approval rating now in August and September of 2022. It's all the way down to 64%. Now, obviously, Joe Biden's approval rating with all Americans is down, but it's not down by anywhere near this amount. This 23-point drop among all Americans, it's only down about 10 to 15 points. So there is a disproportionate drop in Joe Biden's approval rating among African Americans. And I think that's kind of driving why you're seeing Democrats running for Congress getting a significantly lower margin than we're used to seeing.
Yeah, that is huge. That is a huge drop there.
So what you just saw there with CNN was their best attempt at keeping their composure as they informed their ever-dwindling audience the Democrats as a political party are imploding. In 4 years, support for the Democrat in a congressional election has dropped more than 10 points among blacks, from 85% to 74%. Now, you might say, well, that didn't translate into a proportionate gain for Republicans. GOP only gained about 3 percentage points. It doesn't matter. You have to understand, if the Dems lose blacks, it's over. They're done as a viable party. They've lost the numbers that they need to remain competitive with the Republicans in virtually any race. Think about it. They've completely lost the white working class, which was their historical base from FDR's New Deal onward. They've lost women without college degrees by upwards of 75%. They're hemorrhaging Latinos from Florida to Texas to Arizona to Nevada. They've lost some of their most reliable states like Wisconsin, Iowa, Ohio. They're about to lose Nevada, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. And so they're basically down to their number one most loyal core constituency, and that's the black voter, particularly the black female voter. And now, as we can see, even that support is beginning to crack. Now, CNN started seeing this back in August. Take a look at this clip where the host is stunned when black voters repeatedly throw Biden under the bus.
Last 2 years, man.
The last 2 years have been really tough.
The pandemic and inflation have hit Americans hard, increasing long-standing disparities in some communities. And African Americans want the president's attention.
As a middle-class black woman, I don't see the push for the black economic community really exploding. I think the message is being delivered, but I don't think the message is being captured in the way that we want it to be captured.
So clearly, we're not hearing a rhetoric that would be indicative of an absolute fidelity or devotion to the Democratic Party or its president. Moreover, what CNN presented to their audience in terms of the findings is a bit lopsided. That's because black men are far more likely to vote Republican than black women. Data from the 2020 election found that Trump won 26% of black men without a college degree, 22% with a college degree. And given the trajectories that we've been seeing of late, we can expect those percentages to go even higher in the next elections, perhaps hitting as much as 40% in the not-so-distant future. It's an absolutely stunning development. The Democrat coalition, the multicultural coalition that was rooted in a Marxist conception of identity politics, is literally unraveling. And the question is why? Why are blacks abandoning the party they've been so loyal to over the last several decades? In short, why are the Dems falling apart? The answer is going to absolutely blow you away. And you know what else is going to blow you away? Mike Lindell's brand new coffee. And now you can get Mike's coffee delivered right to your front door by clicking on the link below. It comes in a variety of flavors, ground or whole bean, plus it's certified organic, non-GMO. And the best part is you'll know with every sip you're supporting a true patriot who's fighting for freedom. And gang, you're going to love it. Click on that link below or go to mystore.com and use code Turley for 25% off. That applies to all their products on mystore.com. Make sure to click on that link below and let's support Mike today. All right, you might remember a very controversial incident that happened last year in New York. It began with footage from an Italian restaurant in Manhattan called Carmine's. 3 black women were arrested after they attacked a hostess at Carmine's who asked them to provide proof of their vaccination status. While the details remain murky, the bottom line is the 3 black women accused the restaurant of racially profiling them and the like. And it didn't take long before the protests broke out, right? The local BLM chapter leaders accused restaurants like this one in Manhattan of exploiting their vax mandates as an excuse to discriminate against blacks. You heard that right. BLM claimed that vax mandates were being used to enforce systemic racism. Now, of course, this is an extreme example, BLM being a very extreme and corrupt organization, but the key here is that this is a fixed point in recent history where we can see the Democratic Party beginning to split. Here we saw nothing less than the Democrats' most cherished and revered movement, BLM, rising up and explicitly opposing the Democrats' most uncompromising and non-negotiable policy, and that, of course, was vax mandates. So we saw people and policy clash in the Democratic Party, and it wasn't limited to BLM activists. A Morning Consult poll taken this time last year found that Biden's approval rating had dropped nearly 20 points among blacks since he announced the draconian constitutional vax mandate. According to the poll, Biden's approval dropped a stunning 17 points among black voters around that time. And as we saw CNN admit to us, that fall in support continues to plague Biden to this day. But something even more significant is happening here. Something, frankly, many of us didn't even realize. What we have to remember is that for the last several decades, the Democrats have worked hard at forming a coalition of voter constituencies organized around what's commonly referred to as identity politics. The technical term is actually emancipatory politics, but it's all the same. Identity or emancipatory politics re-envisions the state as a grand liberator of people groups who've supposedly been disenfranchised from the political process. And so what emancipatory politics does is it re-envisions the world as made up of power discrepancies where a dominant identity, namely white, male, Christian culture, disenfranchises and discriminates against minority cultures and lifestyles. And this is forever the permanent state of human society unless woke liberals come to power through a massive worldwide revolution that forever alters the course of human history and the like. And unfortunately for decades, blacks, Latinos, women, gays, lesbians, you name it, they've all been assimilated into this new Marxist political paradigm. What seems to be happening here with this massive shift away from the Democrats is that, particularly with these vax mandates, blacks in particular are starting to embrace a very different kind of identity politics that's emerged over the last decade. And this is the identity politics of populism. Populism is all about a massive uprising, but against a permanent political class that seeks to govern according to its own interests and concerns at the expense and even disdain of the values, interests, and concerns of the people. And the key here is that this is not whites versus blacks. It's not blacks versus Latinos. It's not men versus women, gays versus straight. Populism by its nature transcends all resentment binaries within the population. Instead, populism rechannels that resentment to its proper object, which is the permanent political class. They are the real culprits behind our social, political, and economic ills. It's not a lack of equality or equity or racism. It's not sexism or all kinds of phobias, whatever else you could try to blame on a portion of the population. No. The new identity politics is the people versus the political class, and that populist paradigm is currently reshaping politics, not just here, but indeed all over the world. That is why so many black voters are abandoning the Democrats, and that is why the Democrats' version of identity politics is indeed about to implode. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You will definitely want to check out my latest video on Liz Cheney getting humiliated as the J6 committee gets canceled. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.